What is going on, everyone? So, welcome to my latest live stream. This is a very special one because this is my 1,500 subscriber Q&A. You guys asked some really good questions in a previous video that I did. So, this will be the live stream where I answer those, as well as we just kick back and hang out. So, I am very much so looking forward to doing that. So, I have originally, I was the last 20 minutes or so, I was trying to figure out a way to get the questions on the screen. I have to turn it into PDFs files, so I know that for next time for 1,600 subscribers. But for now, I don't have a way of like putting it up on the screen, but I do have them all to the side, the questions that you guys asked. So I will let you guys know the username that asked the question as well as the question, and then I'll answer that. So let me get that out there. 1 second. Just got to get that set up. I apologize. All right. So the first question is Bootzilla 1550 says top 5 foreign films. This is a really good question, and I'm not going to lie, it's a hard one for me. And I don't have a definitive answer, but I am going to try to do a top 10 video in regards to this question. What I'll say is this. One of them is, of course, Old Boy. I would also say probably The Handmaiden is up there. Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth might be my favorite. Could be. Because that's just, in general, like my favorite fantasy film of all time. And that's beating Lord of the Rings, which I think is an incredible franchise. Great question. Speaking of franchise, Can't Articulate asks, favorite movie franchise. So, favorite movie franchise, it would have, for the longest time, it was Lord of the Rings, but then we got the Hobbit films, and I'm not a big fan of the Hobbit films, so I can't say that franchise. Godfather films, if it was just 2 films, I would say hands down that is my favorite, but alas, we got the third entry. So, I would probably say the Dark Knight trilogy. Because the Dark Knight trilogy, it hasn't been tainted into my eyes. I love all 3 films. So I might have to say Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah. David Pictures 6809 asks, favorite bad movie. So I would have to say Robin Hood 2018. Robin Hood 2018 is not a good movie. In fact, it is very generic. It is riffing heavily on Batman Begins from the score, story beats, character development, villains. But I can't lie, I had a really good time with the movie in theaters. I own it on 4K. I got it for like $7 on 4K. And I think that it is a visually pleasing film. I do like the score. I don't know. The 2 times I saw it, I had fun with it. But I also acknowledge that it is not by any means a good movie, but I do have a ton of fun of it. So I would say Robin Hood 2018. Now, on the flip side of things, Robin Hood 2010, that's a film that I genuinely believe to be a good film that just is underappreciated. Bootzilla 5050, separate comment, says, congratulations. Thanks, man. I appreciate all of your guys' support. I did not think I would reach this amount of subscribers. And last but not least, and I'll get to the questions in the comment section because I'm sure you guys have some questions. This last question is from Ethan Hughes 7462. He says, so glad for you, man. You're such a cool guy, and it's been great seeing the channel grow. I first found your channel through your filmography rankings, so I thought I'd ask a filmography-related question. If you could pick any director to have their whole filmography in a single physical media collection to buy, who would it be? I think I'd pick Ralph Bakshi, since his films are so hard to come by for me, and it could have some really great bonus material in the making. Close second is probably Robert Altman. Congrats again on hitting such a great milestone, and I'm looking forward to seeing it grow in the future. Dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I've seen your comments from time to time, so I know that I think you've been following my channel for like 5-6 years, so I really, really appreciate it, man. To answer your question, I thought about this a little bit before the live stream, and I think it might have to be Alfred Hitchcock. Hear me out. The reason why I say Alfred Hitchcock is because that's like the director that I have in the far back of my mind that I want to rank all of his work. The problem, though, is that he did a bunch of silent films, and he did a lot of films in general that are just near impossible to find. So if there was a way to have it where every film that he's ever made was in an entire box set, I would try to watch all of them and I would try to rank his filmography. But as it stands, I can't even really do that because a lot of them are just lost to time. So I would say Alfred Hitchcock. Um, and I think it would also be really interesting to see his progress as a filmmaker. So yeah, so excellent questions. I'm glad that you guys asked these questions. Like I said, I always enjoy getting all these questions from you guys. So I'm gonna go to the comment section now. Let me go down 1 second. I'll go to the comment section. Let's see. Go to the comment section while simultaneously changing the thumbnail. Second. All right, cool. It's a little bit better. All right, there we go. So the first comment is Bootzilla, who says, "Hey fellas, yeah, I apologize, Bootzilla. Marv was originally supposed to make it tonight. I unfortunately did not reach out to Sergey. I forgot to. I actually forgot to reach out to Marv until last minute. And I was like, oh fudge. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't reach out to the boys. So it's just me today. Marv had some prior obligations to do though, but I will be seeing both Sergey and Marv next week. And next week there will not be a live stream because I'll actually be down the shore. Next thing, the view with Drew. Hey everyone, what's up? View with Drew is in the house. Always good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. The view with Drew. What do you think is M. Night Shyamalan's worst movie from what I've seen, either The Happening or Old? I think for me it might be Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think that The Happening you can have a good time watching with like friends because it's like a so bad it's good versus something like the Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's just a misfire of a movie that just does not work any which way you slice it. Um, I remember hearing about how bad it was, and I had put it off watching it for years until I wanted to, rank M. Night Shyamalan's work. And then once I finally did see it, I was like, oh yeah, it lives up to its reputation. It's a bad movie. And then The View with Drew's next thing. I haven't seen Last Airbender, Village, or Lady in the Water. So I'll say this: Village, I actually like. I will stay that right now. I think The Village is a film that over the course of time, thankfully in the last 20 years, people have repraised it and seen now that it's not a bad movie. In fact, it's very well crafted. It's a good example of a movie that you don't want to look at the marketing. The marketing isn't the film itself. It's just bad marketing. The movie itself, if it was marketed quote unquote as a romance, I think people would have been more accepting of it. They would have liked it much more. But because it was advertised as a horror film, and when people watched it and saw that it really wasn't a horror film, they got angry. But again, that's not the film's fault because the film wasn't really trying to make you think that it was. So, if anything, that film, if people got upset that, the period piece, again, trying to not spoil anything, but if people were upset about the period piece aspect, if you know what I'm talking about in regards to the third act, that I would kind of understand. But it being a romance, no. Lady in the Water, I did not like it when I saw it a decade plus ago. I remember Lady in the Water just really, really being a frustrating experience. M. Night Shyamalan also has an extended role in that movie, and I just think that it might be my least favorite performance of his because it's not even a cameo. He literally plays a character, like a big supporting character. So I don't think you're missing out with Last Airbender or Lady in the Water, but The Village I would recommend. Is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, that is the comments for now. Let me see. And I am planning to, for the record, there is going to be a movie review that I'm dropping tomorrow, which is Sunday. It's a film called Abisham. It's on Amazon Prime, so I'll be dropping that review. I recently, as in less than 24 hours ago, I released my Park Chan-wook ranking list. If you haven't checked that ranking list out, I would highly recommend you do so. Park Chan-wook is easily one of my favorite directors working today. Just a masterful, masterful director. And I also have, let me go to my schedule. 1 second. All right, here we go. because August I still have a couple more things. So I mentioned Abishan movie review. August 17th, so next Sunday. Is it next Sunday? Or no, I think it's next Saturday. My apologies. Next Saturday is when my next series of Academy Award Best Picture nominees ranking begins. That's going to start with 1990. So I'll be going from 1990 and then, going down all the way to 1999. And then once that's done, I'll then go from 1980 to 1989. So look forward to that. The 1990, I think that's a really good one to kick off with because I was Dancing with Wolves versus Goodfellas. So that's going to be a fun one to see the reactions to. But after that, the following Saturday, my top 10 Westerns of all time video with Skynet Jen, aka Sergey, will be dropping. That one I'm excited to release. It's almost 45 minutes long, and it's interesting to hear different point of views in regards to the Western genre. So I'm excited, for you guys to see that. And then I think, as of right now, I think that's all that I have left for August in regards to filming. Of course, I will try to do at least one more live stream by the end of the month for sure. And then September, my Catherine Bigelow director ranking list, I'll be releasing that, as well as 1991 Academy Award Best Picture nominees ranked. And then to end the month, my top 10 films that have always been perfect, part 3, will be released. So yeah, this is why I like planning things because I don't have to stress about it. It's already post dated. But yeah, I know it's not the Three Amigos today, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask down below. Like I said, I'm getting my energy with this cup of coffee. You guys watched anything good recently? I was about to start The Crow in preparation for the remake, but I was like, I'll do the live stream instead. So I'll probably watch either later on tonight or tomorrow. But I also saw I went on a Noah Baumbach binge, so I'm going to try to rank his work in 2025 or 2026. So I went on a binge of his work. I finally saw the Rebel Moon movies, the director's cuts. I also saw Cuckoo in theaters, as well as Diddy. So, and on the 25-year anniversary of The Sixth Sense, I watched that film. Oh, I also rewatched Incendies. I forget who it was on the live stream, but someone recommended that I rewatch Incendies, and I did, and I'm glad that I did because Incendies was incredible, man. Like that was just a film that I don't know why when I watched it 7 years ago. I don't know why I didn't really remember it, but rewatching it was just like holy cow, it was like a gut punch. I been thinking about it all week, to be honest. If I ever decide to re-rank Denis Villeneuve's films, it would definitely be a lot higher up on my list. If you guys haven't seen Incendies, highly recommend you check it out. Another film that I watched was I went on a mini binge for Francis Ford Coppola's films. And Francis Ford Coppola, man, he's such a hit or miss director. Andrew Lay, hey Chad, congrats on the subscriber milestone. Thanks, man. I am very, very much so shocked, but like in a good way. I wasn't expecting to reach this number. I mean, I wasn't even expecting to reach 1,500 subscribers. I mean, I hit, for context, I've been doing YouTube since 2015. 2019, I hit 200 subscribers, and that was a huge deal. And then I think it was summer? No, not summer. I think it was last year, the beginning of last year. That was when I hit 1,000 subscribers, and then now all of a sudden I'm at 1,500. So I don't know. I am very happy. Very, very happy. So, like I said, I appreciate all of you guys' support and all the comments. I know sometimes you guys comment on YouTube videos of mine, and sometimes I might not see it for a long time. And I do apologize. It's one of those things where I don't think people talk about it a lot, but it's like when you have when you have people commenting from videos from years ago, and then on top of like newer videos, and then like balance, like trying to answer all of them, it becomes a lot. Like I really do not know how like huge YouTubers do it, because it's like you have thousands of comments. I'm like, me, I have like like 100 or so, and I'm like, it's a balancing act. Let's see. David C, do you watch the show Euphoria? If so, what's your take on it? David C, glad to see you in the chat. Yes. So Euphoria is a show that I think I saw the first season at the beginning of the pandemic, and I think the first season is really good. I'm a fan of the director, and hear me out. I was a fan of the director going into the show. Like Assassination Nation is very underrated. I think it is such a good film. I remember seeing that in theaters, like an empty theater, and just really being beside myself that that film bombed at the box office. But I was said to myself, this Sam Levinson, he knows his stuff. Like he is a good director. So then when I heard about Euphoria and I saw that he was directing, I was like, okay, cool. So I loved the first season. I think the first season was great. I would dare say. And then season two, I think that it dipped in quality, and there were some episodes that really kind of took me out. Just like simple things where it was just like, really, come on now. Like I think the best example, and I don't know how to phrase this without sounding like terrible, but I think the scene where there's like a scene where everyone has to strip naked, and everyone does except Zendaya, and it's just like one of those things where it's like, okay, if you have a no nudity clause, you probably shouldn't have this scene, and if you don't have this scene, it really doesn't advance the plot at all. So it was just like one of those things where it was like, did they just have that scene just because? Because otherwise, it's like, why would you have this scene if you have somebody that has a nudity clause? Why would you shoot this scene? So it was just one of those things that took me out. And then there was another episode, I forget which one in season two, but it just felt like a bottle episode, and it's only, I believe it was an 8 episode season, so it really felt like season two he didn't really know what he wanted. And I don't know, like it's one of those things where it's similar to the Idol, where the Idol, I know it's a hot take, but I don't hate that show. I think that Sam Levinson is someone that he needs to be reeled in a little bit. He has some good ideas, but I think that he needs to be reeled in a little bit, and I'm hoping that season three that's the case, if we ever get a season three. So hopefully, I know that was long winded, but yeah, I'm frustrated with him, but at the same time, like I said, I will be there with whatever show he does, whatever movie he does, because I do think he has an eye, man. Like his cinematography and his films and shows are like really good. So hopefully that answers the question. I can't articulate. Congrats on 1,500. I guess I'll add a follow up question. Which franchise would you like to return to their glory? Usually franchises go downhill later down the line. Ooh, that's a good question. Oh man, should I say it? Yeah, I think I'll say it. I would say I would say the MCU. Um, I know this is where a lot of people are probably gonna stop watching, but yeah, the MCU, like 5 years ago, they were at their peak. Like, even though I had issues with the MCU, it was like they knew how to build up anticipation. Like, I still remember seeing that, Black Panther, Infinity War, and then Endgame. It was just like one of those things where it was just like so exciting. But I haven't felt that way since. I think the closest was Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And even then, it was still a film that did have its issues. But I would say the MCU. The DCU, someone could always make the argument that it was never glorious to begin with. So that's why I didn't use that. But MCU, you can make that argument, I feel like, because there's just such a downward spiral of quality. The quality control just isn't quite there anymore. And I think that could just be that the franchise is spread thin. They're spread across TV shows now. They're spread across multiple movies, and I just don't think that it's there. So, yeah, like I said, I know it's a hot take, but yeah. David C, favorite sports team. This is a tough question. So, I don't. How do I phrase this? I'm not really someone that watches sports in regards to like teams. I used to be. Now I just will watch them just if, a lot of my friends are watching them. And a lot of my friends, because I'm from Philly, a lot of my friends like the Eagles, including my wife. So I'll watch like the Eagles and everything. But back in the day, when I used to be like religious in the sports, like the Red Sox were my team that I would watch. And then in regards to football, I used to love the Packers and the Patriots. Yes, I was a Tom Brady fan. Sue me. I love quarterbacks that throw the ball a lot. So as you can imagine, watching Eagles games where the quarterback's just constantly running the ball, it's kind of like just annoying. But yeah, so I don't really, like I said, I don't watch sports in that way anymore. But yeah, I will watch the Eagles. Ryan Olachaw, are you a Saw fan by any chance? I can't say that I am because I've only seen the first Saw. What was it? Jigsaw? No, Spiral. My apologies. Spiral, and then yeah, I think those were the only two I've seen. So I can't really say that I am. I don't know, like, not that not that I'm saying I wrote off the franchise, but I heard that the franchise became just like, torture porn. And I don't know. It's one of those things where I was just kind of like, I mean, if I didn't like the first one, I'm probably not going to continue with the franchise. But I kind of always have that mindset with horror franchises. Like the first Friday the 13th, I wasn't a fan of, so I just didn't continue watching. And then Nightmare on Elm Street, that's another franchise where I thought the first one was like solid, but then on rewatch I was like, so I just never watched any of the other ones. Versus Halloween, the first Halloween that came out in 78, I liked it. I thought it was quite good. So I did actually watch some of the other renditions because, again, I had that immediate interest because I liked the original. So I can't say I'm a fan, unfortunately. Ryan Olachaw, favorite musicians, band do you love to listen to? So this is going to sound weird. I don't really listen to lyrical music. It's just one of those things where when songs are playing, I can't hear the lyrics. It's going to sound very weird. So a lot of the music that I listen to is instrumental based. So I think that Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and Atticus Ross, like they're two composers that I love listening to their stuff, specifically their film scores like The Social Network and Gone Girl. Um, what's it called? I almost said what's the band called? I know saying my favorite or something and then not being able to know off. I was like, is it Seven Steps from Hell? No, it's Two Steps from Hell. Two Steps from Hell. I love. I think that they're a really good band. But like I said, I for some reason always think seven instead of two steps. So I like them a lot. But I don't really think I have a favorite per se. Like I said, I'm weird like that. I can't articulate on watching Twin Peaks series, and then tonight I might watch She's the Man later on tonight. Oh, nice, man. I'm curious. What season of Twin Peaks are you on? I want to rewatch that show, man. And also, She's the Man. I still need to watch. Um, that's the one with, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one with Mel Gibson, right? I need to watch that. Next question. David C. Whose movies are more annoying, Ryan Reynolds or Kevin Hart? Ooh, that's a that's a tough question. Oh man. Oh man. Um, jeez. See, I'm from Philly, so I know I probably shouldn't say the answer, but I think it might have to be Kevin Hart. I just think that Kevin Hart has like a lower batting average. Like he makes so many bad movies. Like even with going back to sports, yes, I did watch the Tom Brady roast. I mean, they literally had jokes about how Kevin Hart like wakes up and makes bad movies. So it's like one of those things where it's like everyone's kind of in on the joke. Ryan Reynolds, on the other hand, he has moments where he does make, competent movies. So it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, Kevin Hart makes disappointing movies. Uh, Ryan Reynolds makes movies that are middle to the road to competent. So it's like I think I'm going to lead towards Ryan Reynolds. It's a tough question though. It is. I like that question. Anthony A. Perez, congrats on 1,500 subs. Well deserved. Thanks, man. Dude, I'm looking to have you on one of my live streams upcoming soon. Guys, be sure to subscribe to Anthony A. Perez. Him and we collaborate quite a bit. If you want, in particular, Star Wars content, he is probably the biggest Star Wars fan I've seen. So definitely recommend his channel. And you guys can follow him on Letterboxd as well. He's, good YouTube friend. Andrew Lay saw your review of Incendies on Letterboxd. I'm glad you liked it. I struggle to rank it anywhere lower than the Dune movies or Blade Runner 2049. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because when I did my ranking for Denis Villeneuve, it was like on YouTube. It was before the Dune films came out. So before I rewatched Incendies, I had the Dune films up higher than Incendies, but now I would have Incendies higher than the Dune films. And I'm saying that as someone that loves the Dune films. I think that they are really, really good films. But Incendies, man, like that just really stuck up on me. And I think the double whammy of the twists are just gut wrenching. Yeah, it's so good. Ryan Olachel, congrats on 1,500 subscribers. Dude, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I couldn't have done it without you guys. At the end of the day, that's why I love doing these live streams because I know I can interact with you guys. Because I know I always try to keep it, I try to keep it professional in regards to my videos. But like with a live stream, it's it's a hangout session, so you guys can like ask whatever and just feel comfortable. Is my goal. And that's also why I have some of my friends sometimes be on here because it's like you guys can enjoy like the hangout session. Bluezilla, the only Saw movies I like are the first one and the recent one, Saw 10. Yeah, so Saw 10 I heard was really good. But I didn't watch that one because I heard that it was like a tie-in to the second one, and I just didn't get around to watching the second one. So Spiral I watched because I heard that you don't really have to see the other ones, but Saw 10 it was like you kind of have to watch the other ones. At least that's what I heard. So maybe I'll watch Saw 2 and then I'll watch Saw 10. I do have I have a list of movies I'm going to try to watch for October because I always try to mix films in October that I haven't seen and seen in regards to like horror films. So maybe I'll try to do that one. Let's see. David C., have you seen all the Star Trek movies? Star Trek 3 has always been my favorite with Christopher Lloyd playing the Klingon commander. No. So it's going to sound weird to say, but in regards to Star Trek, I didn't grow up watching Star Trek. I actually, and I didn't even grow up watching Star Wars though. Like Star Wars, I didn't watch the first Star Wars till I was in like, I think sixth grade. Like that's pretty late for a lot of people to watch Star Wars. Star Trek, it was even later. I don't think I watched Star Trek until like no, not sophomore, freshman year of high school. And it wasn't even like you're gonna hate me for saying this, but it wasn't even like the old school Star Trek. It was the J.J. Abrams ones. That one in particular was the first one, which got me excited to watch Star Trek Into Darkness in theaters in 2013. But I didn't watch any of the older ones until recently, which was Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan. And I'm not gonna lie, like watching it backwards, like watching Star Trek Into Darkness, and then a decade plus later watching Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan. I get why so many people weren't a fan of Star Trek Into Darkness because it does feel like copy and paste in many assets. So yeah, I only saw Star Trek 2 and then I've seen the J.J. Abrams ones, which take that for what you will. So, but I've always heard that Star Trek, the TV show, is like the one that it's very like smart sci-fi and that they really dive into like the politics of the time. So maybe I'll watch it at some point. I do like sci-fi, but I do respect it. But I'm like the worst person to ask about Star Trek because again, I started watching Star Trek with the J.J. Abrams ones. So I can't articulate. I'm on season 1. It's my first time watching it. I've put it off since the return season. Cinema. Oh, nice. Yeah. Season 1's great. Bear in mind there was a huge cliffhanger in season 1, so it is perfect that you're watching it like not airing because I feel like watching that season 1 finale airing would have just been like, really? But yeah, you're in for a treat. Although season 2, I think I mentioned it in other live streams. Season 2 it's a bumpy ride. It's a bumpy ride, but it's worth it for season 3. Angel, my question for a milestone would be if you were to make your dream movie, which director would you hire or whose style inspires you if you're directing? Andrew, I feel like I'm trying to think because I was looking back at the comments and I didn't. I remember seeing that comment of yours, but for some reason I couldn't. I didn't see it in the actual video, like the comment section. Let me check. Let me go on my email 1 second, because I don't want you to think that I was like ignoring it because I wasn't. Let me see. Not seeing it. Anyways, to answer your question, so my dream movie, and my close friends know this, my dream movie is a movie called Midnight Sermon. $1 million budget. Wanted to take place in the 1970s, shot on film, meticulous costume design. Um, I personally would want to direct it because it is a film that is delving into religion and the porn industry. And for a little bit of backstory, in high school, I was always told that I would either be a pastor or a porn director. So one day, like 5 years ago, one of my best friends and I, we were talking about like both of those aspects and how like it's so jarring. And then I was like, well, what if we made something where it was like kind of like a Breaking Bad thing, where it's like, in order to make ends meet, you are a pastor one day and it's like at night, porn director. So I was like, that'd be an interesting movie. And he was like, oh, we should make it. I was like, no, no, no. That movie would be like $1 million budget at least, because I'm like, I would want it to be in the 70s. I'd want it to be, shot on film. And I'm like, that's out of my budget range. So that's the dream. If it ever happens, it would be something like produced by like A24 or Neon. If I were to, the style that I would want, to be honest, would be like a mix of like De Palma. I would love to utilize a lot of like tracking shots, long takes. I would also say Verhoeven, of course, because it's about sex. Those are the two main directors, though. Like those are like the directors where it's like, okay, this is what I would do. But excellent question, Andrew. And now you know my secret project that 20 years from now, if I ever become a big shot director. Anthony A. Perez, thanks for love, brother. Dude, of course. It's what it's what we do. We help each other out. I'm so glad that your channel has grown as much as it has, as well as just the fact that you're part of like a film critics association now. Which, by the way, I never did get back to the person that emailed me. Like, there should be like a sponsor. I was like, sponsor, really? It was just like, I don't know. I still haven't wrapped my head around why like it's like that. Anthony Perez, what is your biggest guilty pleasure watch? Something stinks but love. Um, a couple. I think the big one I mentioned it earlier. It's Robin Hood 2018. Like Robin Hood 2018, by no means is a good movie. It's not. It's a rip off of like the Dark Knight trilogy, specifically Batman Begins. Um, it feels very cliche, and yet it's so stylish. It's so much fun. Like I like how for some reason the um, marksmen are acting as if it's like a World War One film where like the arrows are getting shot like six at a time. Like there's just a lot of fun to be had. I would also make the argument of Death Wish 2018. Like Death Wish 2018, there is an argument to be made that it's not a good movie. I do not think that it is a terrible movie because it came out shortly after a shooting. I just think that's bad timing in regards to when the movie came out. The movie itself, I think, could be misinterpreted, but at the same time, like that movie has so much style. Like Eli Roth's directing is just something that I really dug. And it's why I'm actually going to be seeing Borderlands sometime this week, because Death Wish is a film that has an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, and yet I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. So, like Borderlands having a 6%, I'm not scared of. I'm like, I'll probably still enjoy it because I like Eli Roth. So, yeah, those are like the two main ones. I'm trying to think of another one. Oh, the 18, the 2010 one. That movie is like, it's such schlock. Like them them flying a tank while shooting at these like fighter pilots. Like it's ridiculous, but yet I still enjoy it, which is why when I reviewed the Fast and Furious movies, and I'm sure there were some people who are like, "Oh, you just don't like to have fun because of it being over the top." It's like, no, I enjoy over the top action. I just like it when it's consistent. And the 18, that movie starts off where it is just it's ridiculous. So it sets the tone that this is what to expect. So yeah, those are some movies that are like guilty pleasures where it's like I know they're not that good, yet I own them on Blu-ray and I do watch them from time to time. Next one, David C. What's a film that everyone loves but you think is overhyped? Mine is Shawshank Redemption. Oh, man, Shawshank I love. I think it's no secret, but I would say hate saying it, but I'll say it. I think mine would have to be Forrest Gump. I think that movie, it's not even just the fact that it beat Shawshank Redemption or Pulp Fiction for Best Picture. I think it's largely because of what that movie represents thematically, what it's also tackling. I think that it's very it's handling it in such a how do I put this, a sentimental way that there really isn't anything about that movie that sticks other than some of the filmmaking. Like I really do like the score. I'm not going to sit here and say the score is bad. It's actually quite good. It's actually the first thing when I hear about the movie, that's the first thing that I think about. But it is a problematic movie, and I do think that, of course, by all means, I respect that people love it. Because I mean, I'm crying out loud. I'm the same person that likes American Beauty, and someone could make the argument that that movie's problematic. Um, but yeah, Forrest Gump, I think that might be the most overhyped movie for me, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. Anthony A. Perez, move to Florida. You can join my Critics Association. You deserve to be one. Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I remember. I remember when I reached out to you and I was like, dude, like, is this normal? And you were like, no. Like, I went through the roof. Like, this Critics Association that I filled out for, they wanted 40 reviews. I think it was like 20 reviews from 10 years ago, 10 video reviews. It was like all this stuff. And then I submitted it, and they were like, well, in order to be considered, you need to have a sponsor. And I'm like, sponsor? And I looked it up, and a sponsor is basically saying that, like, oh, like you've, reviewed movies before. And I'm like, isn't the whole point that I'm sending all these reviews that you can tell that I've reviewed movies before? Like I've been doing this for almost a decade, right? Like I don't know, it just boggled my mind. Like I was just like, all right, I'm not going to respond to the email because I'm like, I just like I don't understand the logic. It makes no sense. It really doesn't. Like I'm sending you 60 plus reviews to verify that I reviewed stuff before, and you can literally check 1,000 plus videos on my YouTube channel. So it makes no sense. It really doesn't. David C. What's your take on David and Brandon Cronenberg? I'm a huge fan of Videodrome, History of Violence, and Infinity Pool. So Cronenberg, both of them, I've always watched their stuff. I think that David Cronenberg, he's a director that there are some of his films that I'm not a fan of at all. Some that I feel kind of indifferent to, but a lot that I really dig. Like I love Eastern Promises. I love A History of Violence and Videodrome. Yeah, Videodrome is great. And The Fly I've turned around on too. Like I think The Fly is really good. It's very disgusting though. Like I think one of the biggest things in terms of body horror that I hate watching, but I know it's really well done is like fingernail, like when people pull fingernails like in movies, like it just gets pulled off. I'm like, oh, like it's hard to watch. And like The Fly has a lot of scenes like that. So it's hard to watch, but it's so well done. And then Brandon Cronenberg, I wasn't a fan of Possessor. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset when I watched it 4 years ago, but I wasn't a fan of it. Infinity Pool, though, I dug a lot. I really liked Infinity Pool. I've seen it 3 times. No, I think I've only seen it twice, but I really dug it. I think that the orgy scene in that film is just incredibly well shot. Like I was that when that happened, that was when it went from like good to like really good for me. Because I was like, yo, this is really good at putting you in the mindset of the characters. Like, is the character likable at all? No. but they're not supposed to be. So it made sense. But yeah, I dug Infinity Pool. But I'm in the minority. I know a lot of people that do not like that movie, unfortunately. But I really liked it. And I will add to it that the ending of that film is one of my favorites of last year. I think it really, really hit me hard. Andrew Lee Alco, man, great idea for a dream movie, honestly. Actually sounds practical with the budget and all. Yeah, I think just with period pieces, I know that that's one of those things where when people are watching, especially from that time period, they're going to be looking out for like certain things. And I just think that if I shot it, digitally, like on an iPhone, I think that potentially could emulate the look of film. But I just think that actually shooting on film, like actually shooting on like whether it's 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter, and with like production design and costume designers that are actually getting the costumes of that time period or replicas, I just think would really fit into it. So that's my dream project. Like I said, if at any point in time I had a big budget, and I do also already have the opening scene in mind. Not going to say it on here on YouTube, but I already have it in mind and everything. And I've run it by my friends. They're like, "Oh, that's brilliant." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." Andrew, like, is my idea. My idea kind of needs James Cameron level of obnoxiousness to get funding. LOL. But hey, since I never get the chance, I'd rather dream an insane sci-fi epic. So, Andrew, I'm glad that you're saying this because if Marv was in this live stream, he would say 100% that that's what you need to go for. That's the big thing between Marv and I is that when we make our movies, I try to think about the movies that I'm making with the budget that I have or lack thereof. But he's always more of like the dream movie budget kind of guy. And so I'm the one that always has to reel him in where I'm like, Marv, it's not realistic. Like, we're not going to be able to get $10 million. What can we do with a couple thousand? And then we go from there. So if Marv was here, next time Marv was in the group, in like on the live stream, mention it to him. I'm sure that he would. I'm sure that he would really dig it. I'm curious to hear about it, honestly. Let's see. Anthony A. Prez. Man, that's so strange. My association just required 25 reviews in the last calendar year. Then you get voted in by current members to stay, and you just got to maintain 25 reviews per calendar year. See, that sounds awesome, and that sounds something that's like manageable because it's like they just have to make sure that you're still doing it. And I think 25 reviews is pretty manageable, especially since you and I we both are up to date in regards to like movies and reviewing them. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, mine. Like I said, when I saw the criteria, I was just like, I just sent you a screenshot because I was just like baffled by it, and I looked to see if there was on like other critic associations, and there isn't. So I'm like, I feel like they kind of have a monopoly because they're the only one in Philadelphia, which means that there are probably many people that also are trying to get in. So apparently, from what they told me, is that don't feel bad if you don't get in because there are some people that have been trying to get in for years. So I'm like, that's good to know. David C. Do you ever travel to film festivals like Sundance? David, I'm glad that you asked. I have not, but I was thinking about it. I've been thinking about it for years. My best friend John, probably not in the chat because I think he's probably asleep right now. But one of my best friends, John, he actually pitched the idea years ago, and it was one of those things that we kind of thought about. But recently, I was just like thinking in my mind, I'm like, I love seeing films blindly, like just not having any idea what they're about or anything. And I'm like, I mean, that's literally a film festival. You go to a film festival and you have the titles, but like there's no prelude to where it's like, oh, this movie has this percentage on Rotten Tomatoes, or oh, this on Letterboxd. It's like, no, everyone's figuring out what this film is for the first time with you. I think that that's something that's special, and I do want to experience that sometime in the future. Um, it's just a matter of getting to it. Like I don't think I would be able to next year, but I'm hoping one day. Have you, David? Like, have you ever traveled to a film festival? Because like, yeah, Sundance, I feel like would be so cool. I can't articulate which movie that came out before you were born. Would you have liked to have experienced in theaters when it came out? Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, man, that's tough. See, the first one that came to my mind was Blade Runner, but then I realized I was like, it wouldn't have even been the cut that I liked though. It would have been the theatrical cut. So I can't say that. That's tough. Oh man, yeah, that's tough. That's a really good question. I think in regards to just films that I know I loved immediately, I would say maybe Schindler's List. I just think Schindler's List, like seeing that in the theater for the first time, like not having any distractions whatsoever for what 3 hours, 20 minutes, and just being glued to the screen. I think that might be the film. Either that or on the complete end of the spectrum, but also a Spielberg film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I feel like also would have been an incredible theater experience. And I have yet to experience that in theaters. So I would say probably either of those two. What about you though? I like that question though. That's a really good question. Because you're right. There are certain films where it's like, like now like films that came out when I was just born, like something like Transpotting, I do wish that I got to see in theaters, or something like Ally Confidential. That's another film I wish that I saw in theaters, but of course I was born, but I was only like 1 or 2 years old. Um, yeah, Apocalypse Now, Godfather, those are films I would have loved to experience in theaters too. Like God, actually no, Godfather I did get to experience in theaters, but it was for the 50-year anniversary, and that was incredible. That was like a Dolby theater. They would see RoboCop, Predator, Die Hard. Rank them. Ooh, that's tough. So from best to worst, I would say Die Hard, RoboCop, and then Predator. That being said, RoboCop has climbed the ranks. So keep in mind, Die Hard and RoboCop, it's like very, very close. Um, I don't know why, but RoboCop, the first time I saw it, I didn't really get the satire. It's just like Starship Troopers. I just did not pick up on the satire, so I was just treating it as if it was super serious, and it's not. Now I really like the satire of RoboCop. I think RoboCop is actually a really, really funny film, and the action is pretty great too. What's your ranking though for those three? I'm curious. Angel A, I love to experience 2001 in cinema. I think I might actually go beyond Jupiter. So I've actually experienced it in theaters for the what was it, the 50-year anniversary in 2018, and yeah, it was pretty amazing. Getting to see that in IMAX was just incredible. It really was. If you ever get the chance to, when's the next anniversary? I forget off the top of my head, but whenever the next anniversary is for 2001, you have to experience that on the big screen. And I think now that they have like Dolby theaters, they might actually re-release that in Dolby. And if they do, I would highly recommend that. Godzilla Jaws would be the one I wish I saw in theaters. Ooh, yeah, that would be great. I would love to see Jaws in theaters. Especially like the sound mixing of that film, so good. David C. RoboCop 2, Predator 2, Die Hard 2, rank them. All came out in 1990. David C., you're gonna hate me for saying this, but I've only seen Die Hard 2. So Die Hard 2 is both the worst and the best of that lot. Question is Predator 2 and RoboCop 2 worth it? Like I really dug RoboCop, but I'm like I feel like the other entries like would be just diminishing returns, especially because didn't Verhoeven not even do the second one? Next question: can articulate Star Wars or Night of the Living Dead? Both big in their respective genres. Old people always say they were really scared watching zombies for the first time. So Star Wars, the original one, I quite like, but I will say that I think that we need to get the original cut. We really do. Having this CGI hack job cut on physical media is just it's atrocious. The original cut, though, the one that doesn't have like a CGI, what's his face, like a CGI creatures and Job of the Hutt, like that one, no, But if you see the original one, which I actually did see some of, one of my friends has a way of watching the original. The original is just it is quite good, but I can respect why you're not the biggest fan of it. And then Night of the Living Dead, I wasn't the biggest fan of it the first time. I saw it in my independent cinema class, and I thought it was just solid. I actually still have that review, believe it or not. But I don't know, man. Like I came back to it like 4 years ago, and I really dug it. And then I've rewatched it more and more, and I've grown to really love that film. I think it's incredible. I think it's also just what it's able to do with that ending, especially with how it really ties into the turmoil that was going on in the United States of America during that time period. I think it's a very important film. But that being said, I can definitely respect you not liking both of those films. Like we all have those films where it's like, everyone loves it, but we might not feel the same way. And that's okay. Skynet Gen Yocha, what's up? Congrats on hitting 1.5K. Dude, what's up, man? This is Sergey. He was on the live stream last week. I forgot to reach out to him, and I was like, if like it was around like 8 o'clock where I was like, oh shoot, I didn't reach out to Sergey. And then I was like, well, if I reach out to him now, like he's definitely busy. So that's why I was like, okay. But of course I know I'm seeing you next week. Tyler Van, hey Chad, what do you think about the RoboCop remake? I personally kind of like it. I so I watched it having not seen the original. Like I watched it, I'll never forget it. I watched it after I graduated high school. Like literally a couple hours after I graduated high school, I watched it. And I just remember being like baffled at how bad it was. And again, I respect that you liked it. I'm glad that you do. I did not like it at the time period. And I feel like now if I watched it, it would go from a 1 out of 5 to a half a star out of 5, having now seen the original. It's a watered down version of the original. And on top of that, I just think that all the decisions that it makes are just quite baffling. Like just removing the satire, making all of the scenes of action just bloodless. I just think that it really, 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 really showcases how sometimes a film shouldn't be remade. Like you weren't going to be able to best the original RoboCop. It's like remaking Starship Troopers. Like if you remake Starship Troopers into a PG-13 film, take out all the political satire, take out all the violence, like the extremely graphic violence, you are going to have yourself an empty shell of a movie. That's just my 2 cents. I can't articulate that was for my movies. I would go back in time to watch in theaters. Oh, my bad. Can't articulate. I thought you were saying that those were 2 movies that you thought were were overhyped. My bad. My bad. Yeah, I honestly, let me take back that rant then. I apologize about that. Yeah, seeing Star Wars on the big screen for the first time would have been incredible. Same with Night of the Living Dead, especially like shot on film. Oh my goodness, yeah, those would have been incredible. Sky Chan, I would see Lawrence of Arabia in theaters if it was an IMAX or Dolby. But looks like it's just standard, not included in the A list. Yeah, even though I've seen Lawrence of Arabia more times in the last year than I have in the last decade, I still would see that in theaters if it did have a Dolby or IMAX release. I really don't know why they're excluding it from A list. I think it's kind of frustrating, especially because they're showing it in, like the smaller theater. So it's like you're going to be sitting down for 4 hours and it's not even like comfortable seats. So yeah, Lawrence of Arabia on the big screen would be amazing. Same with The Bridge on the River Kwai. Like those 2 films, David Lean films, incredible. David C. I've never traveled to Sundance, but this year I saw several of the Sundance films online during the festival. That was really cool. Oh yeah, because I know that post COVID and everything, I know that they had that way of watching it. Honestly, I might try that sometime. I feel like that would be pretty cool. I just know that like props to people that do that though. Like go out there because it's like you see so many films in a day, like a lot, and it's like one of those things where you, from what I've read, are always exhausted. Like 4 hours of sleep. Sometimes you're like falling asleep during a movie. Multiple movies, from what I understand. Like I follow Perry Nemiroff, and I know that she always mentions how it's like, look, it's draining, but at the same time, you're getting to see these films like for the first time, and it's unlike anything else. So, like I don't know, like I think about this year, like something like what was it, Cuckoo that came out? I think that premiered at Sundance, and like I don't know, to get to see that film for the first time without any like hype or anything, it's just you're seeing a rock solid film. It's pretty cool versus when a film comes out and it's like, they have to have it really heavily marketed so that way then people actually see it, and then people have expectations, and then it taints the movie experience, blah 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 blah, stuff like that. Tyler Brown, I get what you're saying. It was a mistake to make it PG-13. Yeah, I just think that some movies need to be R-rated. Like even though I'm not the biggest fan of the Deadpool movies, like imagine, I shouldn't say imagine because we experienced that with X-Men Origins Wolverine, but it's like seeing Deadpool in a PG-13 movie. It doesn't really work. So getting to see Ryan Reynolds do his thing for 3 movies, it's like it's not really my thing 100%. But I'm glad that it is actually R-rated, and I think that RoboCop is something that, like, if I were to watch the original RoboCop and that was like PG-13, it wouldn't have hit as hard, and I think it needed to. Let's see. Angel A, which movie scared the heck out of you as a kid? But you just can't stop thinking about it since mine is 12 Monkeys. Holy cow, watching 12 Monkeys like young. Yeah, I can imagine that being like quite scary. That's a good question. Believe it or not, I know one movie that really, really scared me as a kid. When I was in third grade, we watched a movie called A Wrinkle in Time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a TV movie from Disney, but that movie like really, really freaked me out. But again, I haven't seen it since. I'm sure if I watched it now, I would say, wow, this is like a really bad movie. But at the time, it really scared me. And I still think about like, oh, some of the scenes that scared me. But I think about it now as an adult, and I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't scare me now. I also think that, which one was it? I think that Abba and Costello, some of their ones where they teamed up with like Frankenstein or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, like some of those kind of like creeped me out a little bit as a kid. But again, watching it now, I know that it really wouldn't creep me out. There's also a couple episodes of MacGyver, the TV show that I grew up on. That show, there was a couple instances that freaked me out, specifically the season 4 premiere, the Parker House episode. That again, I doubt anyone on here has seen MacGyver, but that episode freaked me out. And also season 3, the episode where MacGyver basically has to go through a nuclear wasteland and it involves like a scientist. That one did as well. But like at the same time, these are things that in retrospect, they are like early versions of body horror. So like I think that's why now when I watch body horror, like it still kind of bothers me because it's like it's always been there in my DNA in regards to things where it's like, oof, it's kind of hard to watch. But hopefully I answered. Like I said, it's a couple different things. Skynet Channel, what's a movie that needs a remake? Oof, that's a good question. Oof, that's a really good question. Um, trying to think. There was a movie I saw recently. Let me actually go on let me go on Letterboxd. There was a movie recently that I saw where I was like, I feel like this could get a remake and it would be a lot better. Let me go back. 1 second. So I'm just going through my specs. Yeah, there was something I saw recently where I immediately was like, this wasn't good, but it should get a remake. Let me see. Sorry, guys. I know. So wait, I'm just looking real quick. The only problem is when you watch a bunch of movies, it can be kind of hard going through the list. So, nah, that one couldn't. Sorry, there's one where I was like, maybe, and I was like, nah, because it's. I don't think it would be good to begin with. I just think the material wasn't good. Let me look. Nah. Oh, you know what? I'll say it. I think that. Yeah, you know what? I'll say it. I think that that past Halloween trilogy that we saw, I think I think that should be probably remade. Because I can't stop thinking about the premise of Halloween Ends. I think that the premise is so fascinating, but it's so bafflingly like incompetent. Like I don't know. When I think of most disappointing, like potentially really good movie, like I always think of Halloween Ends. I also think of The Purge. I think The Purge is a movie that like the concept is so good, and yet the execution is just so disappointing. So I would say like movies like that. Like there's just a lot of horror films where I watch it, I'm like, this has interesting potential, and yet the execution left a lot to be desired. Um, Another one. Let me look. No, not that one. I think that's all I got for right now. So like those two, I would say. Because I'm like looking at like movies that I was kind of disappointed by, where I'm like, it's either already a remake or already a sequel, which I know Halloween Ends is both, but yeah, there's just I don't know. There's just some movies where I'm just like it just doesn't work. Like even if we were to get a remake, I just don't see it getting any better. It's tough. Right. Audrey Rose scared the heck out of me. It's understandable. Andrew Lay, Empire of the Sun too. Spielberg really made my kids' mind terrified at the idea of surviving a war zone all by myself. Yeah, that movie's quite good. I think I saw it like 11 years ago. I want to say, but I really dug that film. I think it's quite good. Doesn't get talked about that much, and yet Christian Bale showcases in that film that even at such a young age, he was destined for greatness. David C. RoboCop 2 is directed by Irvin Kushner of Empire Strikes Out. It is off the rails and more violent than RoboCop 1, but it's fun, although over the top. Maybe I'll check it out then, because I mean, over the top is what the first RoboCop was, but it was still able to give us a very interesting story with a lot of satire to think about. That's why I love it when people are like, "Oh, movies are so political," and it's like, have you ever seen a Paul Verhoeven film? That dude made movies 40 years ago. But yeah, movies just got political. Sorry, seeing a bar. David C. RoboCop 2 is directed by Irvin Kushner and by Strikes Back film. It is wild, more over the top and violent than RoboCop 1. I really liked it, but not close to the first one, obviously. Yeah, there's not many times where the second film is better than the first. Like there are exceptions, of course, but for the most part, it's like if you have a really good first film, it's like the odds of beating it are quite slim. Scott Chen, I'm curious how Nosferatu will do because that does deserve a remake, though I still need to see the Rashad film. See, that's a film that I am very curious about. because I haven't seen the original yet. I am planning to in October because of it being like horror month. But from what I understand, the original is like pretty groundbreaking and actually holds up. So I am curious about the remake. I think that the remake will be more of like a reimagination. Um, but I am quite curious about it. The Herzog film I've heard is pretty good too. Actually, Sergey, you mentioning Nosferatu reminded me of horror films, and then I was like thinking about it, and I was like, I think that there was a film that I saw in October for horror month that I think could have been a very interesting idea, but just was like bafflingly bad. Um, oh, two movies actually. I have two movies. So one movie I think should be remade is a movie called Horsemen with Dennis Quaid. It's a very much so Seven esque kind of film, which is actually why I wanted to watch it for years and finally did. And the first half is interesting enough, but the second half really goes off the rails and turns into schlock. And it's a very disappointing movie, just overall. So that movie, I think, should get a remake. I think that less studio interference, just let the director do his thing. I think that that could be quite interesting. Um, Another horror film that I think should be remade. No, not that one. I'm sorry. There's one I was looking at. The other one I think should be remade is a film by the name of I can't believe I'm saying this. The straight face. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I think that that's a movie that you go into it thinking that it's very self-aware, that it knows what it is, but you watch it and it's like this super serious movie, and yet everything around it just does not match this seemingly serious tone. I will be seeing the sequel, but I just think that at some point people need to remake that because that could be a lot of fun. But as it stands, it's just a bad movie. Really bad movie. David C. Predator 2 I've come around to loving over the years. It's got Glover, Paxton Busey, etc. It's great and very different setting than Predator 1, which makes it unique in its own way. I love hearing that because I like I said, sequels in the past, like it's different if a sequel's coming out now because it's like I'm there, so it's like may as well watch it. But with sequels in the past, like I'm always kind of like pausing if I want to check out a sequel. But you saying that makes it to where maybe I will watch Predator 2 down the line. Andrew Lay, I achieved my personal goal this week to watch every Best Picture nominee since Oscar 85, 2012 films. As I dragged on seeing 12 Years a Slave because I know it'd be emotionally draining as hell. Yeah, yeah, it is. Actually, Sergei Evskanyan, he also was dragging his feet for a decade plus. But he finally saw, and he saw what I saw in 2013. Well, technically beginning of 2014, that it's a great film. I would even say at this point it's a masterpiece. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and I do watch it once every couple of years, just as a reminder. To be honest, it is emotionally grueling, but it's a necessity to watch. It really is in my eyes. I think it was the first time I ever felt really nauseated watching a film, nearly thrown up during the slave market scene. Yeah, that scene is hard to watch. Like just seeing seeing a mom and a child being separated, like yeah, it was hard to watch. Even the scene where he's getting hung and it's like they're trying to lynch him and it's like they just stop and then he's just like, trying to balance himself so that way he's not hanging himself. And it's all done in a long take. And that's the other thing. The film, the way it's shot, it adds to the realism. The lack of score in many scenes also do. It's a very hard film to watch, but I'm glad it won Best Picture. I'm glad that it's a film that, you know, people can now look at and say, "Hey, it won Best Picture, so now let me check it out." Skynet Jen, will you be watching the new Alien series on FX in 2025? So, normally I would say no, but I saw that the creator is Noah Hawley, who is the same creator who does Fargo, the TV show. So he is someone that is brimming with unique ideas. So I will definitely be watching it. The question is, will you be watching? I know you're a fan of the Alien franchise. Sorry about that. David C. Thoughts on Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and will you watch Alien Romulus opening night? So Sergey's not the only one that gives hot takes. I like Prometheus. I like Alien Covenant. I own both of those. I own Prometheus on Blu-ray. I own Alien Covenant on 4K. I think Prometheus is a very fascinating film. I think it is also visually gorgeous, and it just has so many things that I like. I have come around to realize that it is not a great film the way I used to view it. I think that it is a rock solid film. That being said, I still like it. I still quite like it. And Alien Covenant's a film that it's interesting. My relationship has been tumultuous to say the least. I think the first time I saw it, I gave it like a 2.5 out of 5. I wasn't a fan of it, but decided to give it a second watch after watching Patrick Williams' video on it. And then the second time, I loved it. Now, every viewing after, I thought that it's good, but I like it. I think it's quite good, and I think that the way it's able to build suspense is also admirable. But I do think that right before the ending, which by the way I love, it's the mad scientist entry. Prior to that final scene, I was kind of like, about the third act, pretty much redoing Aliens. That was something that kind of frustrated me. But overall, I think it's a good film. Again, I know I'm in the minority about that, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on both of those films. And Alien Romulus, yes. Actually, Marv and I are seeing it. He's taking us to a movie tavern, which I've never been to. So it will be a new experience for me. So I'm excited. First I wasn't. I'm not gonna lie. Like I wasn't excited for Alien Romulus at all because I saw the trailer and I was just like, it just doesn't look good. It looks like very CGI heavy and very fake. But then I saw the trailer in theaters and it was like weird because like watching the trailer in theaters, I was like, this actually looks good. Like I don't know why, but like I've had that experience this year where I'll see a trailer, on the internet, it just doesn't look good visually, but then I'll see it in theaters, like on it, like the trailer, and I'm like, oh, it looks actually really good. So yes, I'll be seeing like Alien Romulus opening night. The question is, will you be? Skynet Chen, Sergey. The real question is, will you be buying that popcorn bucket? I think that I will be. The question though is the theater that Marv's taking me, do they have popcorn buckets? Like the specialty ones. That's what I'm hoping that they do. I just don't know, which ones they would do. Sorry about that. Ninjule, I've never seen any Alien movies except Prometheus and Covenant. Same thing with Shed. I call my parents watching the stomach bursting scene as a kid, though. Wasn't scared, just thought it looked funny. Oh, I love that scene. That's one of those scenes where it's like when you watch it for the first time, you're like, oh, like, I don't know, I was kind of shocked, man. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, both of those films I know get a lot of hate. And I just think that when you look at them, like, you can at least tell that people actually care. Like, even Ridley Scott, like, that was his baby, that franchise. Like, he clearly was putting a lot of effort into it. Now, of course, there was some course correction that the studio wanted to do because people did not like Prometheus. So there was some things that they did kind of pivot towards more so than like other things. Um, but such is the case when you're making a studio film. Skynet Jen. Apparently, Romulus is set between Alien and Aliens. Yes. I knew that going into it, and that's also why I see why they're trying to really heavily push towards being similar to like Aliens as opposed to Alien. So I am curious about. I'm curious how it's going to be. Marv told me earlier. Apparently, it's been getting like really good reactions, but like that's always the case with like first time reactions. First time anything comes out, it's like, oh, it's the best movie since Citizen Kane. Mm. Usually, I don't know if I want to catch up on the franchise, so I don't know how to feel about it being linked to the Predator universe. So you could always do what I do, just don't watch them. I didn't watch Alien vs Predators or whatever that was called. In fact, Aliens, the franchise, I've seen the first three, and then I've seen Prometheus, and then I saw Alien Covenant. So I think I've only technically seen like five. So you could always do it. Oh no. Forget Aliens. Aliens, Alien 3. Oh no, I said that. My bad. Those three, Prometheus, Alien Covenant. So this will be the sixth one. So I would just say stick with those five. You don't need to see the spinoff ones. Those are just like cash grabs, anyways. Where it's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to see these two like face off against each other? Skynet Gem. The only reason it's linked is because of Predator 2, which led to AVP and AVP 2. There was two of them? I thought it was just one face off. Jeez. Yeah, what's his name? Paul, not Paul Thomas Anderson, the other Paul Anderson. There's another Paul W.S. Anderson. He's the one I think that directed them. And he's a director that I've only seen one of his movies, and that was Three Musketeers. But I know he directed a lot of like the Resident Evil movies and then also Alien vs. Predator, and now I guess Alien vs. Predator too. All bad movies. Yeah, this is why. That's just probably why I've avoided them. I don't know. Like even growing up, like as a young teenager, that was all about watching, plenty of PG-13 movies. I just when I saw those at the library, I was like, I don't know. This kind of seems like, eh. Angela, I heard the theory it's also linked to Blade Runner. I was like, do not marvel, ask my babies. Oh man, yeah. See, I see. I couldn't see. I really couldn't see Alien or Predator being linked to Blade Runner, like in terms of like the world. I don't know. It's kind of intuitive. AVP 2 is horrible. Let's see both of them fight in a sewer in complete darkness and see nothing. Wait, really? That's what happens? Oh my goodness. That's the PG-13 one, right? Let me actually look this up. That sounds like it's the PG-13 one where they're just like budget reasons and as well as for marketing reasons, we want to make sure that we get that PG-13 rating. Let me look this up. Alien versus Predator. Alien vs. Predator, the 2004 one that was PG-13. Oh, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Wait, Alien vs. Predator Requiem was rated R though. Interesting. Okay, that's very interesting. Huh. I have no reason then as to why. I have no clue why. Then they would shoot it in the dark like that. David C. Thoughts on Indiana Jones Style of Destiny? In my opinion, it's obviously not near the level of the first three, but way better than Crystal Skull. Um, I that was a huge disappointment for me. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it. I was very disappointed by it. Um, I don't know. Like, hear me out. I like Crystal Skull better than Dial of Destiny because that movie, it's directed by Spielberg. There's like a heart and soul with it. Even if it is kind of more schlocky than the other three entries. But I don't know. There's just something about it that's a little bit more memorable, even if it is kind of, slightly over the top. But yeah. Skynet Gen, AVP, I will say is watchable but bad. I do own it. Oh, then again, Resurrection is in my box set too. Movie night for those two? Nah, dude, believe I get it. Some of the other guilty pleasure movies I have are Transformers 3, and when I was at the record store, they had all six movies of the Transformer movies. So I own Transformers 2, 4, and 5 technically, and I think Transformers 4 is one of the worst movies of all time, with Transformers 5 right behind it. So believe me, I get that. I get it completely. James Williams, why did you skip me, Chem? Because we're keeping things civil. We are not by any means getting demonetized. We're keeping this video civil. Skynet Gen, Dial of Destiny exists so we can tolerate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, much like Star Wars sequel trilogy exists to make the prequels look good. Yeah, no, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It is quite fascinating because like for the longest time, it's like the stepchild where it's like just doesn't feel welcomed, but now it's like it's a lot more welcoming when we've seen what 2020's Indiana Jones would look like, and it's just like nah, I'm good. It's also just fascinating because, and I know you and I disagree about this, Scott Gem, but it's one of those things too where it's weird because when you see the de-aged Harrison Ford, like at first glance, for me, I was convinced. Like I was like, this actually looks pretty good. But then he opens his mouth and you're like, oh, he sounds like he's 80 years old because the actor is. But it just immediately kicks you out because you're not watching 30, 40-year-old Harrison Ford. You're watching 80-year-old Harrison Ford de-aged. And it just is like, it sticks out, man. It really does. Like, as much as you don't like The Irishman, at least props for props do. With that film, they at least try to change his way that he approaches dialogue, in the past and in the present. David C. Huge fan of almost all the Alien films. Aliens is my all-time favorite film. I even love Alien 3 and enjoyed AVP Requiem. However, Alien Resurrection is abomination. Yeah, Aliens. It's gonna sound weird to say, but Aliens is like it's one of those films where I don't really come back to that often. I think it's just because I just remember it being like I remember it being really well made, but I just remember it being like a shooting gallery film where it's like there's a lot of action and it's really well done. But I don't know, when I think of Alien, like in terms of like the xenomorph, I always think about like the slow burn type methodical pacing. So I think that's just why I don't come back to it that often. But that being said, I can respect that Aliens is, your favorite film of all time because it's like it is a very, very well crafted film. Um, Alien Resurrection I haven't seen unfortunately, but I've heard it's not good, so I guess it's not unfortunate. Skynet Jet, odd Disney, the franchise killer, gotta love him. Yeah, see, they don't look at it that way. That's the thing. Disney doesn't look at it that way. They look at it as we're making money, and that's at the end of the day. That's all they care about. And you see that with I don't know if anyone's been paying attention. They had the unveiling that there's going to be Incredibles 3, which that was the first thing I saw this morning. Like I woke up at like what was it? I think 6 a.m. and then I went back to bed. But like I was like I thought it was a nightmare. Like I was looking at my feed and I saw that there was like Incredibles 3, and I was like, all right, this has to be a bad dream. And I woke up and I saw that, oh yeah, it's actually happening. And I'm just like, why? Like, why would you make an Incredibles 3? Like, why? Like I'm sorry, but like I'm not that open minded about that idea because I think that the first Incredibles is so good, but when you watch Incredibles 2, for me, I just thought it was like, it was okay, I guess. What was some of the other ones? Snow White, I thought it looked okay, looked fine. I'll watch it for sure. I know it's not going to be anywhere means the same level as the original. Mufasa the Lion King. I've told this to Sergey. I am actually quite excited for it. Believe it or not, I actually think that that film has a lot of potential. It is directed by Barry Jenkins, who, of course, is the same director that did Moonlight, one of my favorite films of all time. The composer is Nicholas Brittle, who also composed, of course, the score for Moonlight. Beale Street Could Talk also did the score for Succession. So yeah, I'm excited. And it's also a prequel and a sequel, much in the same way as like Godfather Part 2. So I think that there is potential. It doesn't just seem like a cash grab. Moana 2, I wasn't really a big fan of the first Moana, so it's kind of like, whatever. In regards to Avatar Fire and Ash, cool. I'm down. Toy Story 5. Yeah, Toy Story 5. Let that sink in. Zootopia 2, like why? Why do we have Zootopia 2? The first one was good. Frozen 3, I'm good. Mandalorian and Grogu. Like what are we doing here? Tron Eris, I can't lie, like hearing that Nine Inch Nails was going to be doing the score does have me kind of curious. Tron Legacy will always have a special place in my heart, so I will of course see the sequel, but like I just don't understand the mindset of, oh, Joseph Kaczynski, who directed Top Gun Maverick, he made a film that made over $1 billion. So it's like, why not have him direct the sequel to Tron Legacy, the film that got him in the business to begin with? But it's like, no, let's have the director who did Maleficent too. Okay. And let's have Jared Leto star in it. So it's like, I don't know. The director and the main actor, those are two things that where I'm like, oh boy, uh-oh. But Nine Inch Nails doing the score, at least I know that the score is going to be good. Angel Lay saw the artist recently. I think I'll use that John Goodman reaction for whenever I really love a movie I'm watching. It's perfect. I liked the artist. I'm glad that you loved it. I think it's just one of those films that I've seen it twice. I saw it when it first came out. Actually, I saw it the first time I saw it was Oscar night. It was like a couple hours before it won a bunch of Oscars, but I saw it that night with my dad, and then I think I saw it a second time like months later, and I remember thinking it was good, but I haven't seen it since. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should rewatch it. Scotty didn't stop with the Toy Story films. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me because I think that Toy Story 3 was the perfect conclusion. And I remember I balked at the idea of Toy Story 4, but I do genuinely like Toy Story 4 quite a bit. But at the same time, like Toy Story 5, it's like, what more can you do? I did hear apparently that Toy Story 5 is going to be talking about like AI as well as like other things, advancements in technology and how it's making toys feel irrelevant. And I do think that that part is something that could potentially be interesting because tying with the themes of existentialism, I mean, that's something that will make these toys feel that even more so. So there's potential, but again, more so the part of me is like, be cynical, know that this is probably a cash grab, and I'm going in with that mindset so that way, if it is actually good, I can be surprised. Angel, I'm only excited for The Incredibles 3. Rewatched the original recently. Really held up for me. I love the retro utopian aesthetics. My favorite super movie now. No keeps. Yeah, The Incredibles is so good. It's so good. And I think that one of the big things about The Incredibles is that it was like so ahead of its time. It came out in 2004, and yet it felt so like from its approach to the superhero genre to the way it tackled like villains going on monologues. It's one of those things where you can watch that film and you can see it being used as like a blueprint for so many other films. Like even Watchmen, one of my favorite superhero films of all time. Like even that film, you could make the argument of it looked at The Incredibles for like inspiration. I know it's based on a graphic novel, but you could also make the argument that The Incredibles did technically come first before the film. So, or The Incredibles was inspired by the Watchmen, the graphic novel. Either way, it's very fascinating to see how 5 years later we got Watchmen. And I would make the argument because of The Incredibles. But versus The Incredibles 2, like at that point, it was just behind the times. Like it felt very irrelevant to begin with. I don't know. Like I know it made a lot of money, The Incredibles 2, and that's probably why they're making a sequel, I would imagine. But it doesn't really stick. Like if you put a gun to my head and said, name three things that happened in The Incredibles 2, I wouldn't be able to name them. I wouldn't because I've only seen the movie one time and it just really didn't stick out to me. But you know what? If people like Incredibles 2, that's fine. I hope that they like the third one. I hope that's good. I hope that I'm wrong. I did also hear that they're making a Lilo and Stitch movie, and I only saw Lilo and Stitch once, like years ago. I remember not liking it, so I'm very curious about how that's going to be. If you like Pixar or Ghibli, apples or oranges, but do it. LOL. Oh man, that's setting me up for failure. Um, I think I'm gonna have to say Pixar, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that. I know there are gonna be people that are immediately jumping out of the conversation. Um, my thing is this: anime, I respect a lot, but I have to be in a certain mindset a lot of times for it. Versus Pixar films, it's not necessarily as much the case. Like a film like Finding Nemo or The Incredibles, I think I can pretty much watch at any point in time because they're really, really well done. Versus an animated film, specifically like Studio Ghibli, I have to be in the right mindset. I've only seen Studio Ghibli films like Spirited Away like one time, so there just isn't as much rewatchability value. But that being said, I still respect the studio a lot. I think that they are quite good, and I do like both. Skynet, are you seeing Wicked? Okay, it looks like it'll be terrible. Yeah, I definitely will be. Actually, it was funny. I watched the Hot Ones, where Ariana Grande she was actually on there recently, and I don't know. It was kind of cool hearing her talk about the movie. But I will definitely say, hearing her talk about the movie, it sounds like it was a lot of fun to film. It sounds like there was a lot of respect and a lot of things among the crew members that was just really really cool to witness. But at the same time, watching the trailer itself, like I'm just kind of like, how is it The Wizard of Oz came out 85 years ago, and yet the visual effects look better then as opposed to now in regards to Wicked. So I don't know. It could possibly work for the directing once it actually hits theaters. I don't know, but I don't know. I think the idea of seeing like Wicked and then seeing Gladiator 2 right after would be kind of interesting. I don't know if I would actually do it because I think Gladiator 2 is going to be long, and I'm pretty sure Wicked's going to be long too. So I don't think I'd be able to do that. But yeah, I'll be seeing it, of course. Scott and Jen, I must have misheard Chad saying Spirited Away does not have rewatch value. I look, I know a lot of people love the film, and I know a lot of people have rewatched it multiple times, but I've only seen it once. And let me actually pull up my letterbox with when I saw it. I know it was like years ago. Let me see. I gave it a good review though. Like I thought that it was good. 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago is when I saw it. I haven't seen it since. It's good. It's a good film. But like even a film like Mind Games, I really liked that anime film. I've only seen it one time though, in 2018. I can't articulate. I don't think you misspoke. Thank you. I think I articulated it very well. Look, keep in mind, just because I haven't seen a film like multiple times, it doesn't mean I don't think the film's good. Like that's what I was trying to say. Mind Games, I really like that film. It's very Lynchian esque, and that's an anime film. 6 years ago, I saw it. Trying to think of another really good, a Ghost in the Shell. I liked the original one quite a bit. Saw it once 7 years ago. I think the biggest thing, like a good example of one that's quickly climbed the ranks, is actually Perfect Blue, and that's a film that Sergey actually got it for me as a birthday gift. That's a film though that might actually be my favorite anime film now. Like I loved it, and even on rewatch, like it hit even harder. I don't know. It's a great film. Seen it twice, and I don't think that I could be wrong here, but I think that that's the only anime I've seen twice. Tyler Rand, what do you think are the biggest pros and cons of Letterbox? So I think that one of the big pros of Letterbox, I'll start with the positives. I think that you get to be a part of a community of people that also love movies. They want to share the movies that they've seen. They want to also see what you're seeing. And a lot of times you can be introduced to movies that you might not have necessarily heard about. A good example would be, and I always say this, but a film like Harakiri. I had never heard of the film. I didn't know what it was, but I saw many people rate it very highly, and I added it to my watch list. And I ended up watching, and I loved it. I wouldn't have seen it otherwise. So I think that that's cool, and I also think that it's cool that you can make lists. You can also add when you've seen a movie. You can also see if someone's following you, like if someone follows you back. That's also really cool. But that leads me to the negatives. The negatives are there are a lot of people that they mostly look at like the follower numbers, and they want to add numbers where it's like, hey, I want to follow as many people as possible, and then delete them just to get a follow. I've seen that happen so many times where someone requests me, and then I'll click on it and I'll see that they're now no longer following me, and I'm like they literally just requested to follow me, like I don't understand this. I think another drawback is that, and this happens with every aggregator website, every aggregator website, is that people will see that something is highly rated on Letterbox. Something will just come out and it will be highly rated, and so people will start review bombing it. Some people will say, "Oh, well, it's not actually a 4.4 out of 5, so I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5, even though I think it's actually a 3." And it's like, just give it a 3, dude. Like just review bombing something is not cool in my eyes. Like just giving a review for something, lowering it much more just because you don't think it should be at that. It's like, really. And that's something I've experienced with IMDb. I've experienced it with other aggregators. You see it on Rotten Tomatoes. You see it all the time. So I think that that's also a downside. Trying to think what else. Oh, ads. But that's also a me issue for being cheap. I will say the free version, there are a lot of ads, and I do think that that sometimes can be annoying, but it's kind of worth it. Oh, another positive. Let me get back to positives though. I also think that it's cool how they have all these little nuggets that are really cool. Like an example, if you click on a link that someone shared from years ago and it's like broken, it says like it will say like a movie line, like, oh, this link is can't be found, and then it has like a movie line. I think that's pretty cool. But I think the best nugget, and I don't know if everyone knows this or not, but I think the best part, hands down, is that after midnight, if you are holding your phone and you accidentally like shake it, all of a sudden a gremlin comes on screen. It creeped me out and freaked me out the first several times that it happened. And then finally I decided to look it up as to why. And it's actually like a feature where it's like, well, gremlins, they appear after midnight if they are fed. So I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. So again, it's the little details that I really appreciate. It's kind of watch the Tale of the Princess Kaguya, another great anime. I think I have that on my watch list. I've heard that that one's good. Yeah, there's a couple other animes that I have on my radar. Spanish and Letterboxd needs a TV show section. Yeah, they right now they technically do, but it's only for like limited shows. Like I know Shogun. I don't know if it's still on there, but I know that it was there when it was only going to be one season. But they're probably now going to take that off now that it's official. It's going to be like 2 or 3 seasons. So I don't know. We'll see how that works. Paracle Vlogs. Hello. Welcome to the channel, Paracle. How long have you been subscribed? Angela, not gonna lie, I enjoyed seeing celebrities stumble on the red carpet being asked for the top 4 by Letterboxd. Oh, that yeah, it's great because it's like it's so hard to come up with a top 4. It's so hard to come up with a top 10. So it's like, yeah, it's understandable. And yet here I am. I did my top 100 films of all time list last year, and actually I have been slowly editing my top 250 list for the last couple months. And I have to say, it's a lot. Like I understand why I haven't done this in a decade. It's because it is a lot. It's a lot. So yeah, top 250. It's a lot. Can't take that. I always thought I was a movie buff. Then I got Letterboxd, and people have like 4,000 movies logged. Meanwhile, I have less than 1,000. Dude, 1,000 is still a lot. Like, don't sell yourself short. Like, that's a lot. For me, honestly, mine would probably be around the same amount as you. And you can ask Sergey Jen. I've backlogged a lot of movies. I've gone back in time to like movies that I have on my email that I've seen at Facebook, other means where I'm like backtracking what I've seen and everything. So, don't sweat it, man. Like 1,000 is still a lot. It's kind of true. They unfollowed because they saw you give a movie 4.75 out of 5. Hey, look, it's an A. There are some times where I'll watch a movie and I'm like, I think it's higher than 4.5. It's not quite a 5 just yet. I mean, for crying out loud, Blade Runner is in my top 25, but it wasn't until like I think the most recent viewing where I finally gave it a 5. Like for the longest time, it was a 4.75, but it was still one of my favorite films of all time. Tyler Van, I want to have thanks. Great answer. I agree with you on all you said. One thing that bugs me a little is occasionally I'll see someone rate something because of their own views and not the actual movie itself. Yeah, that I see what you're saying because I see that too. And I will say that there are times where I will almost struggle with that, where I always try to keep myself as open minded as possible. But I am human, and I will admit that there are times where sometimes my own, morals come into play. Like that was with what happened with Cannibal Holocaust, where that movie, I think it's very well crafted. I think that what it sets out to do, it succeeds. But just the detail oriented animal cruelty that was depicted, I just personally like really couldn't stomach it. Like it was one of those things where I just really struggled with it. And so I said it though in my review. Like I said that I struggled with it, but I still understand and admire some of the craftsmanship. But I always try to do that because I try not to be dismissive because I mean it's an art form. Now, yet I say all this about like stomach turning and everything. Yet I can watch 12 Years a Slave or Schindler's List, and it's not to say those films don't make it stomach turning. They are, but they actually feel quite rewarding in the sense that you feel like you are watching history unveil itself, as opposed to something like Cannibal Holocaust. It does feel like at times that it is just trying to be shocking for the sake of being shocking, and that's something that doesn't always work for me. Tyler ran 2 out of 2. Just as one example, there were people that rated back in Black Valley just because it seems like they don't like Sam Taylor Johnson as a person. Yeah, and that's something that I don't think is right. I don't think it's right because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that work on a film, and it's like really, because there's one person involved that you don't agree with the reviews, you're just gonna, say the movie's bad. I don't think it's right. I don't. So I agree. David C. Favorite and least favorite Guardians of the Galaxy character. Um, what's his name? Drax. Is he the one that's played by so I don't seem like an idiot. Let me look this up real quick. Let me get the names right. I've only, guys, just as a heads up, I've only seen Guardians of the Galaxy like all three once a piece. So they don't really like stick out to me. I feel terrible saying. Okay. So yeah, Drax, Dave Bautista's character, I think is probably my favorite. And then my least favorite is Peter Quill. I'm sorry. I just don't really find him to be that interesting. Tyler Van, to be fair, though, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say whether I think it's good or bad or not. Me too. But at the same time, you can sometimes see through a review where it's like, this is clear that you are against the person, and that maybe you even shut it off before you were able to give the film a proper chance. Angela, I also enjoy seeing Letterboxd users submitting their profiles for YouTubers to roast. Hey, sounds like some good video ideas. That's funny. I I don't know. My thing is, I always try to be positive on the channel, even though, of course, there are videos that I've done where it's like I am negative towards movies. But for the most part, I do try to be positive. But I mean, hey, if people want to be roasted, like I would do so, but I would try to do so in a respectful manner. David C. What is everyone's top four in Letterboxd? Mine is Aliens, JFK, Terminator 2, and Heat. Ooh, that's a great list. Now, last time you asked me to rank them, so this time I'm gonna rank it. My ranking: JFK, Heat, Terminator 2, and Aliens. I think JFK is a masterpiece. I think it is one of the greatest films that I've ever seen, and one of the best edited and best paced films of all time. Yes, I said it. Maybe it's a hot take. Terminator 2, it's a great action film. I think that it has a great emotional core. And Heat, I know I flipped those two just now. Heat, I think, is incredible. I mean, it set pretty much the blueprint for films that we now see, such as like the Dark Knight trilogy, Den of Thieves, The Town. So there is a lot that film did in terms of the genre. And Michael Mann's directing is incredible. Aliens, I mentioned before, I think it's quite good. Can't Articulate, Shaun of the Dead, Spider-Man, Mulholland Drive, Prisoners. Ooh, that's a great lineup too. My ranking for that: Mulholland Drive, Prisoners, Shaun of the Dead, Spider-Man 2. Yeah, Mulholland Drive and Prisoners are my top 50 of all time. Shaun of the Dead, I think, is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I think that it is exceptional, and I actually am thinking about seeing it in theaters because it is getting re-released. And then Spider-Man 2, it's solid. It's rock solid. I like it. I like it quite a bit. Andrew Lane Knights, David C. Glad to see JFK up there. Mine are Last Samurai, The Martian, Zodiac, Phantom Thread. Yeah, that's a great lineup too. Love Last Samurai. Martian, I really, really like. Zodiac, I think, is incredible. Phantom Thread, great. Can't Articulate. Come on, Chad. Trap is 4 stars at the least. Hey, I am so glad that you liked the movie, and I've recently seen a lot of people on my Letterboxd rate the movie highly, and I like that. And actually, one of my best friends saw it recently, and he also gave it a 4 out of 5. And I will say this, like his positives, I get why he liked it as much as he did, and I understand why you liked it as much as you did. And honestly, my dad, I took him to see it, and he really liked it as well. I get the appeal. I really do. I just think for me, it felt like one of the lesser episodes of the TV show Dexter, like the season 6 episodes, where just kind of like you see the potential, you see that there are a lot of things that could be worked in a way that would have been effective, but in execution, it left a lot to be desired. And I really do think that in this case, I think that Shyamalan's refusal to really show things in a serial killer movie, I think, kind of hurt the movie because I never really felt that the characters were in danger. because we only see him in his good guy kind of persona until like the last 10 minutes. So it really did kind of detract for the film, in my personal opinion. But that being said, I'm glad that you really liked the movie. I really am. David C. JFK is the best edited film of all time, in my opinion, maybe the greatest cast. That's fair. I think JFK, yeah, the fact that it's depending on which cut you watch, it's the one version, it's like 3 hours and I think 6 minutes, and then the other one's like almost three and a half. It's incredible how much it's able to cover, and it's a film that is constantly trying to get audience members to be engaged with the material. And I think that from an editing perspective, from a casting perspective, from a writing perspective, it's firing all cylinders. And the cinematography is the cherry on top. Like the fact that it uses, different lenses, the fact that it utilizes different film stocks, it's incredible. It really is. Skellington, Trap is Trap. We should have seen it coming. Yeah, I know Sergey's not a fan of Trap. I was disappointed by it, but I know you read his review. He did not like it at all. Angela, I know, right? I'd look it up if it won Best Editing after 3 Hours of Greatness. And Donald Sutherland as X was iconic. Yeah, it's funny because The Silence of the Lambs came out the same year, and ironically, I think I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but I'm starting the 1990s Academy Award Best Picture nominees ranking list. It's going to start later on this month, which will be 1990, and then next month will be 1991. So you will get to see me talk about JFK for a little bit in that 1991 ranking. But like the fact that JFK and Silence of the Lambs came out the same year is just incredible because I feel like if Silence of the Lambs didn't come out, JFK would have won Best Picture. Um, it's an incredible film. It really is, and it's held up incredibly well. Godzilla Apocalypse Now, Shawshank, 12 Angry Men, and Pulp Fiction are my top four. I love that top four. I mean, let's see. All four of those are in my top 100. Like, I love all four of those. David C. Phantom First great. Daniel Day-Lewis great playing. Great score as well. Yeah, I agree. And I think that the fact that it's his last film, or allegedly his last film, I think is fitting because it does have like this sense of melancholy that you are experiencing like an artist's last great work. And I think that might be a hot take, but I do think he should have won Best Actor that year in 2017. I as much as I love Gary Oldman, I don't think he should have won for Darkest Hour. Actually, yeah, if Daniel Day-Lewis ran an acting school, he'd run it like the Marines. Yeah, he really would. Though he would like probably actually have a school where it's like whatever characters that you need to play, this is what we're doing. Which is why, even though he's my favorite actor of all time, it's partially why I'm glad that he wasn't cast as Hannibal Lecter, because method acting for that, not good, not good. Probably would have gone to jail. Probably wouldn't have done There Will Be Blood. Probably wouldn't have done The Crucible. Probably wouldn't have done Gangs of New York. So like there would have been so many performances that we would have missed out on. Lincoln. So Anthony Hopkins, though, speaking of Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins is also one of my favorite actors of all time, hands down. Like he is so good. Andrew, like 12 Angry Men is great. The only time I can say I love watching 12 sweaty men in one room for hours without sounding inappropriate. uh, I mean, yeah, and the fact that I think the air conditioner was broken in that film, so it's like, yeah, you really feel the tension in that film. It's such a great film. I rewatched that earlier this year, and as soon as it ended, I was like, so why did I wait to rewatch it like almost 4 years later? Like, why did I wait so long? It really is one of the best films of all time. And speaking of editing, speaking of structure, that's also a film that's perfectly structured. A great example of a film that it's a little bit over 90 minutes, but like it's got a great first act, second act, third act structure. And it also is a great companion piece for Anatomy of a Murder. And Anatomy of a Fall is also really good, so I would recommend that as well. But in terms of like black and white courtroom films, I think that Anatomy of a Murder and 12 Angry Men is a great combo pack. I'm actually caught up on all the comments. Took a little bit, but caught up. Oh, I got another like for my Deadpool and Wolverine review. That was like a hot take. Mario Smash 2000. What are your thoughts on Jason Reitman directing Saturday Night Movie? So I think I saw the cast photo. I didn't know Jason Reitman directed it though. That actually has me excited for it. I like him as a director. I think that he makes competent films. So that knowing that now, that does make me actually quite excited. Um, but the movie itself, I'm going in with an open mind. I really don't know much about it. I think from what I understand, it's taking place during like a specific important set of time during Saturday Night Live, like their beginning. But again, I don't really know much about it. But are you excited for it? Because I know that it recently got announced with the release date and everything. David C, have you ever seen Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers? Yes, actually, my Oliver Stone ranking video. I think it comes out. One second. Let me actually go on YouTube. I can actually let you know when it's coming out. 2nd. I have seen it. And I'm not gonna lie. I felt mixed about it. I didn't hate it the way I've heard some people do, but I also didn't love it. I don't know. Maybe I'll rewatch at some point, but it didn't really do much for me. Yeah, so Oliver Stone's his ranking list. It's coming out October 12th. Um, gosh, I almost forgot that. I think I filmed that video like over a year ago, something like that. Andrew Lay, I've got to catch up on Shaman now that Trap has come out. Can't believe I've only seen Last Airbender, The Happening After Earth, all considered as worst. I heard. Oh, yeah. If those things are the ones you've seen, like, yeah, you're missing out on you're missing out on some like good ones, like Unbreakable. I think that's a great one. Um, Sixth Sense, I actually rewatched that recently. It's still my favorite of his. The Village, I quite like. I know it might be a hot take to say this, but I also quite like Glass. I like Split. Signs, I think, is all right. I've kind of dampened my opinion on that movie, but yeah, those are all ones I would say watch. David, see how many new releases do you watch each year? I try to clear the 100 barrier. So yeah, I'm on the same mindset as you. I try to clear 100. There was a good period of like 2018 to 2019 where like those 2 years, I think I cleared like almost 200. Like it was a lot. It was a ridiculous amount. But for the most part nowadays, it's like 125, I would say. Like this year, I think Alien Romulus, it will be like my 75th film, which is a lot. So I'm assuming this year I'll probably reach 125. But I do know that Sergey and I, like, our methods are different. Where it's like I will be doing a lot of movies, like movies each month. But then by the end of the year, I'm kind of like burnt out because there's just so many movies that come out at the end of the year, so it becomes overwhelming. So there are some that kind of slip the cracks. So yeah, I would say like 125. It's kind of Jim. Why is Jurassic World 4 coming out? Money, because all three of the other ones they made a boatload. So that's why, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Angel, I didn't mean to only see those three. Somehow they were on TV all the time when I was younger. Oh gosh, of all films too. It's like the three worst ones that he's done. So I thought that was a yawn. Even with a cup of coffee, when it gets late at night, sleepy Chad. No more sleepy Biden. We got sleepy Chad. Oh, and once again, I know I said it earlier, but next week there will not be a live stream because I will actually be on the shore, ironically with Sergey and with Marv. But then the following week, back to the usual of trying to do Saturday night live streams around 9:30. Because I like interacting with you guys. I think it's nice in regards to subscribers as well as myself. It's kind of curious how F1 will turn out. Quite like racing films. Yeah, I heard about that one. I forget who directed it. Let me actually look it up now. Because I know that's the one with Brad Pitt. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, Joseph Kaczynski's directing it. It's got a really good cast. I'll say the only thing that kind of has me worried. Oh, Oh wow, that's crazy. Sorry, I'm just wrapping my head around. That's insane. So wow, I didn't realize this. Aaron Kruger is the writer who's doing F1. And I was about to say that he's just like not a good writer at all, but he actually is a writer that's been nominated for an Oscar. So I can't really fully say that, but he's the man responsible for what's it called? Transformers 1. No, take that back. Transformers 2, 3, 4, Ghost in the Shell remake, Dumbo remake, but he got his nomination for the writing it for Top Gun Maverick. So I don't know in regards to writing, I don't know how good it will be, but it's going to be nicely directed. I mean, Joseph Kaczynski is pretty good director, and Hans Zimmer apparently is doing the score, so it's good to hear. It could be fun. Mario Smash 2000. I would say Jurassic Park 3 is the worst one in the series, in my opinion. So I haven't seen that one in like a long time, like 10 plus years. But I will say Jurassic World 2 and 3, like I was baffled by how bad those two were. So I don't know if they would be top for me personally. Like especially like I'm gonna say Transformers blending together now. Jurassic World, like that third one, the fact that they were focused so much on like locusts as opposed to dinosaurs, it was mind boggling. It was like, what are we doing here? Angel, I saw Rush recently, pretty good, better than Gran Turismo, I reckon. Yeah, Gran Turismo I had fun with in theaters because I saw it with one of my friends that's like really into cars. But I see that it is a flawed movie. It's an alright movie. Like in the moment, I enjoyed it, but it's by no means like a good movie. It's alright. Versus Rush, like Rush is a genuinely good film, whether you're into car racing or not. Like it's a good film, and it really does a good job with just making for a very impactful emotional experience. Like Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Brewer, they are so good in that film together. And Hans Zimmer. Speaking of Hans Zimmer, his score for that is like so good. I think it's the track "Lost but Not Won." Like that track is so good. Man. Angel, I almost forgot. I finally saw your favorite, American Beauty. It's great. So many iconic moments, and the level of drama is insane. Yeah, there really are like there's so many great scenes in that film. Like the scene, the asparagus scene, like the dinner scene, the drive through scene when he catches his wife, cheating. The narration, like the opening scene where it's like, "This is me, like jerking off. This will be the highlight of my day." Like just so many moments in that film are memorable, and I think it's also a film that balances comedy and drama like so well. Um, yeah, you know what? I didn't even mention my top four on Letterbox. It's stayed the same. It's American Beauty, Mulholland Drive. Um, what's the third one? I know the fourth one is Gone Girl. Oh, the third one's There Will Be Blood. There Will Be Blood's incredible. Easily one of my favorite performances of all time, if not my favorite, from Daniel Day-Lewis. Scott and Jen, Gran Turismo. I liked it better when I was playing the game. See, that's the thing. I never played the game, so like I didn't have any like nostalgia towards it. I was just like, yeah, I just hope it's better than Elysium. I just, hope it's better than Chappie. And I think that to some extent it is, but it's definitely not the same level as District 9. Definitely not. Mario Smash 2000. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watch Saturday Night and also Complete Unknown because I like watching movies that are based on a true story. Yeah, same here. I haven't, to be honest with you, I didn't hear about A Complete Unknown. Let me actually look that up right now because that movie is unknown for me. So let me look it up real quick. Oh, it's that James Mangold movie. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's probably gonna be a good movie. I'm just kind of nervous because James Mangold, after seeing what he did with Indiana Jones 5, like I'm kind of like, okay, is he now a director for hire? Like, I don't know, I'm kind of nervous, but I'll see both of them. I'll keep an open mind. I do like Timothy Chalamet, so and Edward Norton's in it too, apparently. Angel Lady, you want special sauce to the order? Yeah, I love that. I love that scene. You don't get to tell me what to do ever again. It just gives her the food. Oh, I love that scene. I think that that's also a film that's like it's a great example of a film that's able to cater towards adults as well as teenagers, and that's something that's very hard to do. Yet that film manages to do it so well. Marvel fan 45, sup, Chad? Dude, what's up? I haven't really been seeing your letterbox as much. How have you been? I've missed seeing your reviews. I think I saw you a little bit on there, but then I stopped seeing your reviews as much. I hope you're doing well, though, man. I always like seeing your Sam Elliott photo from Big Lebowski. So I feel like I don't see that profile from anyone ever, even though it's like it's such a cool character from the Big Lebowski. But yeah, American Beauty, I love. Oh yeah, I didn't even show my shirt. You erased your head. Greatest Father's Day film. And the greatest Mother's Day film. I always say it. Rosemary's Baby. Skynet Jen. Passion of Christ sequel next year. You're ready for someone getting beaten to death for a whole movie. That Mel Gibson ranking coming. Dude, I know. I was gonna say like our ranking video we could do like at the end of this year because Mel Gibson's having a Mark Wahlberg film come out this year. So I was like, okay, we can film the ranking and then have it out next year. No, apparently the Passion of Christ 2 is coming out. I'm just like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of confused how they're going to be doing the sequel. I really am, but we'll see how that goes. Fan 45. Yeah, good to talk to you. It's been a minute. I've been reviewing a bit less now. LOL. But what's your movie of the year so far? Yeah, man, dude. I'm sure that you've been busy. I understand that life's been busy for many people, so I get that. Um, so my movie of the year so far, hands down, without a doubt, is Challengers. I think it's a fantastic film. I think it's incredible. I'm already itching to rewatch it. It got me into tennis. I now play tennis twice a week because of that film. So yeah, I loved it. And even if it falls out of my number one slot, it's still a film I will always look at as it got me into a sport. And how often can I say that? Because usually I'll watch something and I'll already be into it. Like, for example, when I watched Moneyball for the first time, I was already into baseball. Versus Challengers, I went into it where I was like, yeah, it's one of my most anticipated, but it's because of the composers. It's because of the director. It's because of the cast. It wasn't because of it being a sports film, specifically tennis. And yet, watching it, I was invigorated with it. And I literally bought tennis balls and rackets, and I now play it every week. So, yeah, I love Challengers. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's a great film. And dare I say, masterpiece. Angel A. If Dune 3 was Timothy Chalamet's next movie, it'd be a musical. Can't Stop Singing After Walking, Complete Unknown. Yeah, oh man, could you imagine Dune 3 as a musical? Oh gosh, that would that would be something. I do think he's very talented though. Like I thought he was so good in Wonka. Like I know that some people didn't like that movie, but I thought he was so good in it. Ethan Hughes, hey man, congrats on the subscriber milestone. Ethan, welcome to the chat. I did answer your question earlier, much earlier in the chat. But since you're in the chat, I'm going to actually pull up the question again. So since you saw answer it technically twice, Ethan uses comment for the Q&A that was a video that I made a couple days ago. Ethan Hughes 7462 said, "So glad for you, man. You're such a cool guy, and it's been great seeing your channel grow. I first found your channel through your filmography ranking, so I thought I'd ask a filmography related question. If you could pick any director to have their whole filmography in a single physical media collection to buy, who would it be? I think I'd pick Ralph Bakosky since his films are so hard to come by for me, and it could have some really great bonus material in the makings. Close second is probably Robert Altman. Congrats again on hitting such a great milestone, and I'm looking forward to seeing it grow in the future." Dude, I appreciate it. I know you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, so I appreciate it. So to answer your question, and I said it earlier, but it's hands down Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock is a director that I've always wanted to rank all of his films, but because a lot of his films are lost in time because of them being either silent films or just some of the first talkies, I would love to have a whole collection of his films. I know right now it's not realistic, but in this wish fulfillment fantasy, I would love to have a collection of all of his movies because then I would have incentive to watch all of them. But as it stands, it's always going to be a director where it's like I'm not going to be able to, complete his filmography because of many movies being lost in time. But if I could, that would be the director. Excellent question. And again, I really appreciate the support. Didn't think I would reach 1,500. Didn't think I would reach 1,000. Didn't think I would reach 500. And here I am because of all you guys. Scott Jen, Chad, your favorite film will be God's Not Dead 5. I hope not, man. I really hope not. That's a film that it's excluded from A-list, so I know that if I'm going to see it in theaters, I would have to buy a ticket for another movie and sneak in. So, and I am kind of curious if the showing for that movie would be like packed. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I feel like even the audience that it's catering towards, like they're almost like over it. Actually, let me check though. Let me check the show times. While I'm looking up God's Not Dead 5 show times, Marvel Fan 45 says, "Have a good night, man. Cool to talk to you again. I would definitely look at my 2024 ranking Letterboxd if you want some interesting takes. LOL. Have a good night." You always have interesting takes, and I appreciate your opinions, even if I don't always agree with them. I still appreciate the hot takes. It makes it very interesting. All right, so one thing I forgot to mention, what's funny about God's Not Dead 5, which is called God's Not Dead in God We Trust, it's excluded from A-list, but it's also coming out the day after 9/11. I think that's kind of symbolic for the movie that we're going to be expecting. We will never forget this movie. So I'm looking at the 7:30 showing for September 12th, and the 7:30 showing, it is completely empty. The 5 o'clock showing, same thing, it's completely empty. Interesting. Well, yeah. Oh gosh, God's Not Dead 5. Like, holy cow! I can't believe that movie's coming out. I really can't. I really can't. Andrew, like, glad to know Challenge is your favorite of the year so far. Great movie, lots of interesting experimental choices that actually worked. I noticed. Yes, and that's something I also really appreciate is that it is a film that, like, the fact that they have a shot towards the end where it's like from the perspective of the ball, like I was so giddy when that scene happened, like in the theater. I was like, they're actually doing it. Like it was just so cool. But it also made sense in the context of the film. And I just also think that in terms of buildup, the film did a phenomenal job, like of really building up. And I've heard some people say they don't like the ending, and I definitely disagree, 100%. I think the ending, if anything, gets better, um, with time. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Angela, what do you think of Guadagnino's other film coming out later this year, though? Wait a minute. Guadagnino has another film coming out this year? Oh, no. Queer with Daniel Craig. Oh, no. I'm hoping that it got pushed. I didn't know that movie was coming out. Yikes. I say yikes because I filmed my ranking of his work. Oh shoot. Yeah, you're right. Why are these filmmakers having two films come out in a year? Oh god. Yeah, I filmed a ranking and I have it set for June of 2025. Fudge. Lovely. Well, I appreciate you for letting me know that. So now I can either change the release date to come out sooner or just refilm it. Oh gosh. Yeah. I didn't know that was coming out. People seem to underappreciate Challengers because it was released earlier in the year, whereas Queer is for the Oscar season. I do think though that Challengers has potential to actually get into the Oscars. Although I think that people are underappreciating the directing, and I think it should get a Best Picture nomination personally. But I think that those aspects will be underappreciated. But I do think that in regards to like sound mixing, score, Best Supporting Actor, I think that those are things that most people can kind of get behind. Although I would also add Best Actress. I do think Zendaya was phenomenal in the film. But yeah, I can see it kind of underperforming at the Oscars, which is a shame, especially now knowing that Guadagnino is having another film come out later this year. See, I should have waited. I should have waited to film that ranking because I filmed it. I filmed it, and then because I was like, all right, he's not gonna have a film come out for like a year or two, and here we are. Skynet Jen, how are you liking House of Dragon? I finally caught up. So season 2 I thought was overall solid. I do think that the first half of the season is much better than the second half. I think the finale was pretty much blue balls. The finale, like I don't know, just seeing where it led off to, I was just kind of like, okay, so this season just in retrospect, it made it feel kind of irrelevant. Um, I don't know. I was frustrated a bit by the finale, but I think overall it's solid. It's just it doesn't touch Game of Thrones. Like it might be a hot take, but I prefer watching Game of Thrones season 7 and 8. That's just me. Um, but I'm curious, Sergey, how you liked the finale. Ethan Hughes, thanks, man. I picked up the secondhand neat Hitchcock set here in the UK. That has like 28 of his films. I know that's just scratching the surface of his work, but it's still pretty great. Yeah, I mean, if 28 films of his is still quite a bit. In fact, I think that's more that I've seen. Like I think I've seen like 15 of his films, something like that. So you're definitely getting a nice portion of his films, which is cool. Ethan, you agree with your take on Challengers too. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, I just think that overall, like in a society that's kind of overly prudish in regards to the United States, like having a film like that come out where it's sexy, it's thrilling, it's stylish, and it's able to do it without really any nudity, and yet still people are butthurt about it. I think just really showcases the prudishness of United States viewers. I loved it though. I think it's really good. I think that one of these days I should do a double header of Y Tu Mama Tambien and Challengers. I think that would be a really good double header. Both are masterpieces in my eyes. Scott and I like the last interaction and the decision one of them had to make, which was pretty shocking, understandable, but a difficult choice. Yeah, I liked that part, but I just think that the lead up to war, it was like one of those things that was something that we experienced at the end of season one. And I thought that they were going to do that for just the first couple episodes and then actually it really, really lead to something by the end of season two. But it just felt like, okay, now we're going to get into season three. But it's like, okay, season three, then going to just lead up to season four. Like, I don't know. I think that's it's cool that they're just doing it for 4 seasons. But I do at the same time kind of worry just a little bit. Just a little bit. Well, season three better be war. LOL. Watch, they don't have a single battle. It's just like people in a room talking. Hey, I love Game of Thrones for the talking. So if that is the case, I can dig it, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how season three is when it comes out in 3 years. Right now, I'm watching Breaking Bad with my wife. We're almost done season one, and that show is insanely well done. Like, we just got past the gray matter episode. I think it was episode 5, where I told my wife like it is arguably one of, if not the most important episodes of that show, because that's when you really get to see Walter White's like stubbornness, his ego, like come into play, and how like his decisions really affected the family in like a negative way. Like his two partners, like yes, they kicked him out, but it's like they offered him a job. They offered to help out with a lot of stuff. Just doesn't want to do it. Just doesn't want to do it. He wants to provide for his family by, you know, cooking up crystal meth. So I don't know. I think it's great. I think that it's a great show, and I still can't believe Skylar's hated. Like Skylar is like the one character where it's like, yeah, she's angry because her husband's doing some very questionable things. So it's like makes sense. Like, yeah, I didn't like Skylar when I was 18, but I grew up. Breaking Bad, top 3 shows of all time for me. Angela, what are your thoughts on the Tron franchise? I remember liking Legacy, but I haven't revisited, and I haven't seen the original. I should do it to prepare for Eris. So I only saw the first Tron once, and it was like probably at this point like 13 years ago, maybe even longer. I don't know, something like that. But I didn't like the first Tron when I saw it all those years ago. But Tron Legacy, I've always liked. I have kind of liked it a little bit less the last 2 times, but I still appreciate it. I still quite like it, and I think that it really did a lot for me as a film buff. So I would say Tron Legacy is definitely worth a rewatch. It is flawed for sure, but like from a filmmaking perspective, it's outstanding. And it's also insane because like Joseph Kosinski directed it, and I think it was his debut film, and he was given like almost $200 million. Like this director that previously was an architect, like it's pretty impressive. So I would definitely say rewatch Tron Legacy in preparation. Skynet Rings of Power season 2 coming in a few weeks. I'll watch it for you. LOL. Please do. I did not like season 1 at all. So I think I'm done. I think I'm done with it. Similar with The Mandalorian. After seeing season 3 of The Mandalorian, I think I'm good. I think I'm done. All right, guys, I'll wrap things up. Before wrapping things up, any other questions to add, though? Be curious about any other questions. Oh, Skynet Jen has one question. How about the animated film? I think I'll check it out, just out of curiosity. Um, I think I remember reading about that the War of Iran. Like I remember reading about it a little bit, So I'll check it out. Like I'm curious to see what an animated Lord of the Rings will look like because I do remember seeing The Hobbit animated decade plus ago, but I'll be curious. Angel, like, whoa, if that's Kaczynski's score, then I want some of his secret sauce for the budget. Yeah, he was a rookie director given a budget of nearly $200 million. If I'm not mistaken, you can fact check me, of course. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the only time in history that that's occurred. Because usually, what happens is they get an indie director, someone that's done like one or two smaller budget films, and then they'll have them do like a big budget film. It's insanity, but I think what's even more insanity is having a first time director direct nearly $200 million budget film. But at the same time, like if you think about it, it does make sense because he was an architect. So it's like the world of Tron is architect based, so it does make sense. And it also, watching the film, makes sense why there's so much attention to the world building, so much attention to the architect and the production design. So we'll see. It's kind of seeing Cuckoo tomorrow. Ooh, I don't think you'll like it, Sergey. But I hope to be wrong. I hope that you do like it. I thought it was solid. Thought it was solid. I keep going back and forth between 3.5 out of 5 and 3.75. It's very well made. There is some exposition that does stick out towards the end, but it is a very unique film. It does remind me of a certain Kubrick film. Not going to say which one, of course, but it does remind me of one of Kubrick's films. And, it's definitely not as great as that film, but I think that for what it's going for, solid. Angel like Orson Welles. Well, Citizen Kane. Wasn't that like a mid-budget film? Pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Orson Welles did a mid. I'm pretty sure Citizen Kane was a mid-budget film. But the fact that he did Citizen Kane as a first-time director is insane, and I think he was only like 25, which is even more insane. But all right, guys, I am going to end the live stream now. Like I said, there will be no live stream next weekend, but the following weekend, which is the 24th, that's when I'm going to try the live stream. So stay tuned for that. I will also say I'll try to do one or two other videos. I'll be on the lookout for Sergey and our top 10 Western video will be coming out on the 17th, I believe is when it is. So stay tuned for that. Or no, I think it's the 24th. Stay tuned for that though. And yeah, I will catch you guys later. I hope you guys all have a good night. I will talk to you guys later.